Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Before the Valley. Hello, Peter. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. As you can see, the sun today is up, so that definitely affects my mood. And yeah, I'm ready to rock and roll. How are you?
I'm feeling good as well. Same reasons, the weather, main contributor to this. We've discussed this in one of the podcasts that the weather affects us a lot. And it's very interesting because we live in the UK where the weather is not the best. So like, why do we live here, not in Italy, for example?
Yeah, but I think that makes it more, I guess, noticeable, because if you have a sunny day every day, you don't notice it that much. But yeah, still. So should we go straight to the first question?
Yeah, we're doing again the questions, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Well, what I want to ask you first is, what did you learn this week?
Okay, so you shoot this question at me this time.
Yeah.
So what did I learn? So something interesting before I share what I learned is that every single week with Peter, what we do, we have those accountability meetings.
Yeah.
Something that I think is very valuable and crucial because we keep each other accountable for what we do. And one of the things that we have, each of us shares in a different way, but we have this task to read. And this week I completed it and I had to finish The Atomic Habit, which is the book that I have here. I brought it. And what did I learn from this book is that Victor Hugo, how do you know him, right?
Victor Hugo, yeah.
Yeah, Hugo. So it's a very interesting story. It's about habits and how to deal with bad habits. Mm-hmm. So he had a deadline to finish a book in 12 months. So his publishers set this deadline to him to finish the book. But instead what he did is that he was going out almost every single day. He was partying, celebrating, and then he contacted his publishers saying that he needs more time, but they said, like, we can give you only 6 months on top of what we've given you already, because this is going to be like too long for us to be taking care of this project. We can move to another person to write a book. And he realized that he was wasting his time by going out. And what he did in order to tackle this bad habit while he was having this important task to finish a book, he hired like an assistant, or he had one already, I don't remember clearly, to lock all of his clothes in a chest or like some box, whatever, so that he cannot use them and go out. And the main idea of this thing, which eventually he managed to write a book successfully in 6 months only, not 12 months, but is that sometimes we don't need to make like good habits easy, but to make bad habits hard. Yeah. And to increase the friction. And in this context, for him, going out, procrastinating, not spending time writing the book became very hard, because what he had to do is go out, buy new clothes, but then they were going to get locked again. So in his head, he knew already, like, this is taking me so much time. It's not valuable for me to do it, even though that I get some enjoyment. So he stopped doing it and he focused on writing the book. And why I'm sharing this is because I found it very valuable in our case nowadays. I think this is very relevant when it comes to using applications, our phones, and so on. Yeah. And in many cases, we say, even you and I, we might say, oh, I'm wasting too much time on Instagram. Yeah. We can just delete it. Yeah, exactly. Because it's not bringing us anything. Like, it might bring us some interaction with people, but it's not that valuable. It's not that crucial for us. And simply deleting it would increase the friction of procrastinating and spending time on Instagram, which is going to lead to us not doing it. Yeah, I remember a very good quote related to that. I don't remember who said the quote, but it was, if you don't want to slip, don't go on the ice. So if you don't want to, use Instagram excessively, don't have it on your phone. Yeah. It's that simple. And also there's a very good video on Matt Devea. He was describing, I think 10, it's his most recent video actually. He was describing 10 habits, very small habits or changes that he made that changed his life. And one of them included that he didn't have any snacks in his house. And I do the same. And that keeps me from having the cravings to, go and eat too many carbs or whatever. And even like when we have snacks left, I'm much more tempted to eat those snacks than if I don't have them at my home. So it's the same with the clothes. If you lock the clothes, if you don't buy the snacks, you're much less likely to go to the shop and buy sweets or something like this. So I think this is a very, very good point. And
I definitely agree with this, because this is also the distinction with pushing and then, I guess, strategizing. You can always be disciplined and try to push for stuff, but it's much better if you strategize how to achieve something easily. So in this case, it's much easier to make, it's a bit counterintuitive, but it's easier to make the bad habit difficult and then not do it than, not doing anything and trying to be disciplined and just trying to restrain yourself,
and avoid it. And I think
it's more stressful as well, I think.
Yes, it's very hard to be disciplined for a long period of time, and I think he touches it in the book, like saying that we overestimate discipline. Like we're like, oh, I'm gonna be disciplined, man, I'm not gonna do anything about going out, as Victor Hugo. But then you have this constant reminder that you see your clothes, you see like your friends, waving outside your window back at his time. Yo, come on, let's go out. And it's so easy to do it. Yeah. But if you don't have the clothes, you're not gonna do it. It's very as you said, it's making it easier for us to avoid the bad habits. And
exactly,
why I think this is a very interesting and valuable, like very practical point. Like this book is very practical. Once again, that's the second book that I'm reading after the extreme ownership of after Never Split the Difference. The one that I mentioned to you. But extreme ownership is also very practical because he has the business side of things. But about atomic habits and how to avoid bad habits by removing the temptation. If you flip it on the other side about good habits, he's touching on this point, but like you have to make them visible. And what I've noticed that now I'm much more consistent when it comes to reading books, because I leave my book on my bed. Okay. And every single time before I go to bed, I see this book, and I mean, it's just a reminder. Oh, I have to read. It's like 10 pages, 15 pages, 20 pages, but I have to read, and it's just a reminder. However, if this book was not on my bed, on my desk or somewhere else, just not that visible, I would just go to sleep. Yeah, exactly.
It's also another point from Matt Davea's video. Is he was putting his phone on the other side of the room so that he can actually wake up, go and take the phone and turn off the alarm in the morning. So why I think that is a good way to do it is because when you're making the decision of whether you should put your phone on the other side of the room, you don't feel the negative effects from drowsiness in the morning or whatever when you wake up. So it's much easier to kind of set yourself up for a difficulty in the future than being disciplined in the moment and restraining yourself in the moment when you're actually feeling the negative effect. So it's kind of, okay, let me set myself for this thing in the future, like you with the book. Then, I'm in my bed now, so I have to go out and take the book. So I think that's, if you approach these bad habits in this way, it's much easier to, or good habits. It's much easier to do the good habits and restrain yourself from the bad ones.
I totally agree with this. And it's like, I don't know, it's just so valuable, this idea of you think of what you want to do and you make it easy or hard if you don't want to do it, and then eventually you're gonna achieve what you want.
Exactly. Nice one.
So that's something that I learned this week.
That's pretty good.
Cool. So instead of asking you a question, I wanted to share an idea, or it's not an idea, it's like a topic. It's about confidence. I think it's confidence, something that we haven't discussed that much on this podcast. And it's quote that I don't know who it's from, but it's something that I think can help us dive into this topic. It's lack of confidence kills more dreams than lack of ability. Talent matters, especially at elite levels. You can think of Michael Phelps, for example. But people talk themselves out of giving their best effort long before talent becomes their limiting factor. You're capable of more than you know. Don't be your own bottleneck. So what do you think of this? What's your view on confidence? And any experience that you have had which you think are gonna be helpful for people?
Well, from my experience, first I remember a quote, but again I can't remember who said it exactly. But I think it was an author, a writer, a very famous one. He said that the problem with the world is that very intelligent, or I guess it was intelligent. I think the quote, very intelligent people lack confidence, while people that don't know that much usually have very high confidence levels.
Yeah.
And this is another effect. I can't remember. I think it was the Kruger effect, where you have people that enter a field. Initially, they have very high confidence levels, and with knowledge, these confidence levels decrease. So the initially, when you enter a field and you read a bit, you're like, oh, I know everything, and so on. But the more you read about, let's say, medicine or whatever, like let's say physics, the more you read, the more it becomes apparent how wide and broad the field is and how little you know. And so because of that, you start losing confidence. And then after a while, when you become more and more an expert in it, your confidence levels increase again. So I'm saying all of this, I guess, because it's related to the confidence point, where I think it's very important to have it, because otherwise it can discourage you. And especially if you have the abilities, as the quote, with intelligence, and this discourages you, it might stop you from pursuing a project, and then not reaching your goals in that sense. And going to my personal experiences, I think with the increase in my confidence, I've noticed I do progress much faster, just because for example, let's say in my work relationships, I'm able to push much more than I would otherwise do. You're able to take initiative much more than you would otherwise do, just because you're confident in what you will achieve. Well, if you lack that, it's kind of a blocker, I guess, to what you start doing, just because if you don't believe you're able to do it, you won't start doing it. So I think it's very important to keep your confidence high. How you do that is, I guess, a different question. But
yeah, that's something that I was going to follow up on. Like, what are the ways through which you have tried to increase your confidence? And have you found something which worked pretty well?
Well, for me, is, I guess, analyzing my performance. So let's say I look at results at work, or I look at what I have achieved so far in my life and stuff like that. They bring me confidence. And well, I guess looking at the past can help you predict the future. So in my head, I'm like, oh, I'm definitely gonna nail this, let's say, campaign performance this month, just because I was able to turn it around last month for my corporate job, for example. So that helps me a lot. I think it's just looking at yourself objectively and what you achieved objectively, and then I guess following up on that with what you're gonna achieve in the future. And another thing is that I mentioned earlier, it's a very interesting quote by Jeff Bezos, was you don't need that high certainty in your assumptions, especially in business. He was talking about confidence intervals. That's a concept in statistics, and how much certainty you need in your data to make a decision. And usually in science, you have 90%, in most scientists, 95% of that certainty. But in business, he said you can do it at 70%. So I try, after reading that, and even before that, I realized that if you double down on your assumptions, you can get a lot more done than if you wait to be absolutely certain about something. So let's make it more practical. Let's say in the example of sales, we're currently building our startups, and we don't know, if this will be the most successful idea in the world.
Yeah.
But just believing that it has the potential from your experience, and then when selling it, doubling down on that sale and saying, oh, this is like very good, explaining the reasoning that you have for thinking it's very good and why you committed to this. All of this, I guess, doubling down on the assumption that it's going to work leads to better results in sales. So this is just an example of how confidence in, let's say, selling something is crucial for closing the sale. And it's doubling down on your assumptions and objective analysis have been very important for me. And I guess there's a biological element to it, because you might feel anxious, or there's something else happening in your life that makes you feeling less confident, I guess. And especially people that have mental illnesses, like severe anxiety or depression, they have no confidence at all, basically. So just trying to keep yourself in balance, I think, is very important also for confidence. exercising regularly, stuff like that, I would say.
Okay. So you mentioned, I think, good points. I like the idea of objectively analyzing your performance and then doubling down on the stuff that you're good at so that you are feeling much more confident and actually you're performing much better. Because as you said, if you approach some of your colleagues about a project that you're confident about and you like, okay, let's do this, you can achieve something great out of it. While otherwise, if you're not confident, you're like scared, oh, I'm anxious about approaching this colleague of mine, you're not gonna do anything. So like you stop, you're still at the zero.
Yeah.
And another good point, which I really loved, is the idea about having 95% confidence or like 70, as Jeff Bezos mentioned. That's, I think it was also in the Atomic Habits about the difference between motion and action. Because motion is when you research an idea, let's say we start a business and we're still doing the research and it feels like we're doing some progress because we gather more data, gather more information, but we're still passively approaching it. We're in the motion. However, you have the action afterwards, which is, okay, I have this information, what can I do with it? Even though I'm not 100% certain, I am sure that I cannot get to 100% certainty without doing the thing, without the action. So it's time to do the action, to take the action.
Exactly. And let me tell you something else I'm thinking. It's also something else, like new ideas, new unproven ideas can often bring more value than focusing on ideas that are certain and are going to work. So that's value creation in entrepreneurship. And I think you're doing more of a disservice if you're not doubling down on your assumption to society or to the person you're selling. Again, in this example, you're doing more of a disservice because he cannot test your product or idea.
Because it's new, right?
Despite it being risky. Yeah, exactly. So sometimes the risk is high, but the reward is also so high that you just have to go for and take action in this idea rather than focus on the low risk and low value one, I guess.
Yeah, but that's the good economic theory of risk and reward. The higher the risk, the higher the reward. So you have to spice up your life. This was from I don't know why I mentioned this, but from Margot Robbie. Yesterday I saw a picture of her on like a one page that I'm following, Classy. What was it? Like, it's a very good page that they post very good stuff.
Right.
But I saw a picture of Margot Robbie and I don't know why, but then I jumped into her profile to see if the picture is from her profile or they found it somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then her first pick was, you have to spice up your life. And I relate this to the idea that sometimes if you're not confident in what you do, your life is going to be a bit boring because you're just going to be moving very slow. It's not going to be very dynamic. And you will not be probably as passionate about stuff as you would be if you're very confident, because when you're confident, you're exploring new ideas, new sides of things that otherwise would have remained unclear.
Yeah, and this is also, I guess, brings me back to self-analysis and realizing whether you're risk averse or a person who likes to risk more, and how high on withdrawal you are. Withdrawal is basically the personality trait in people that make them avoid risk and threat. And for me, another good point is what helped me take more risks recently is realizing I'm high on this. Like the way I feel and experience threatening situations is more intense, I guess, than the way the average person would do it.
Yeah. And
then you just realizing this, you can be much more objective. So even if you're feeling anxious, I won't give the public speaking example once again. You go and do it just because you know that's what you are. But then you realize there's nothing to fear and the risk is much lower than you actually experience it. So yeah, I think self-awareness is very important on this one as well. And what I would recommend is just analyze your life and see, have you taken any risks so far, big risks? And if not, then you're probably high on withdrawal. You're a risk-averse person. For example, if you've never changed your home environment or stuff like that, like I would say major events in your life would be an indicator whether you're risk-averse or a more risky person.
Yeah, nice. That's a good point. Because on the other hand, now we're speaking that risk or being like extremely confident in what you're doing is what everybody should be. Well, I'm not sure if that's the case, because sometimes people are much better at doing like the analysis of things and doing more the passive stuff. So yeah, that's something that probably you need to see what kind of person you are first.
That as well, yeah.
And then see what you want to become. Because if you're more of the motion people, if you want to become an action person and start being more confident, you have to think of how can you do it, or what opportunities you have to do it.
You know, analysis is always important, but I think even then confidence is it's crucial. And
yeah,
I mean, even if you're the motion type of person, I'm always thinking about people working in finance, because it's much more analytical, I guess, than, let's say, startups, the startup environment. Even then you have to be very confident when having relationships with other people. And again, I think the same points stand that otherwise stand, even in these fields where the risk is much lower, I guess, and there's much more analysis. The relative uncertainty is still the same. So for example, you're using a new model, let's say, and you have to sometimes double down on that model, despite the assumptions that it has. So yeah, I still think the point stands that you have to double down on your assumptions, because the real life is not a scientific paper. And
yeah. And if we go back to this quote, it's saying like it was related to talent, but it could be certainty as well. Like certainty and talent, especially at elite levels, matter, but people talk themselves out of giving their best effort long before talent or certainty becomes a limiting factor.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So confidence plays a role as well in this. All right, cool.
Yeah, nice one.
Do you have any other questions?
Yes, my other question is, it's very practical. It's something I wanted to ask you just because I think you're better at engaging people and establishing relationships than me. So I just wanted to ask you, what are some practical tips for developing relationships with people that you have realized while, I guess, working or anything like during your life?
That's a good question. So I think that the main thing which is helping me when it comes to establishing relationships is that I'm first trying to see what person I have in front of me, and then approaching it in a way, okay, here I am, here is what kind of person I am, like telling them a bit about myself, but also I'm interested in you, so tell me more about yourself, which makes them think, okay, this guy really wants to know about me, he's interested in what I'm doing. So here comes the relationship type of things, and you just build on it afterwards by being truly yourself, not being fake and like trying to, be pushy or something like that, but just being yourself, and eventually you meet the right people. Because I've had many cases where I haven't been able to establish a good relationship with somebody because we just don't match. We're just different people. While on the other hand, I've had many cases where I like tried to establish very strong relationship with somebody, and it's just working by being myself. And yeah, you're right that I'm more of a person who really relies on, like, not rely, but I'm a strong believer of relationship with people, and I'm doing like my utmost to build those relationships, and like pushing, sacrificing some of my time or whatever just to build those relationships. And yeah, like that's something that is practical, is that if you have to think if you really want to have a relationship with this person.
Okay.
And
yeah, if you want to invest the time there.
Yeah, then becomes much easier. And even if you think about from work perspective, I have people in my work that I'm not that engaging with. But on the other hand, I have some other people that I'm much more engaging with, and it's just more pleasant. And afterwards, the results also come because we help each other in work.
Yeah.
But it becomes much more of a task to build this relationship than just something that naturally happens.
Yeah, I understand completely. I wanted to ask you because I realized what you just mentioned. I realized I've been doing this only for the past maybe year, is trying to kind of categorize the person in advance, just realize what kind of person you have in front of you in the very beginning. And I started doing this after getting myself more into psychology and like studying all of these psychological models, and then trying to put people in this category so I can communicate better with them. But did this come naturally to you? Like, would you be doing this when you were growing up and when you were a child, or was this something you developed afterwards?
I don't remember. I don't remember really. No, I don't know if it's something that has been developed in the passage of time from some experience, or it was from the beginning that I was such kind of a person. Like thinking about it now, considering that I don't remember any major event that made me realize that I really don't want to, like, not that I must convert myself to a person like this. It leads to me to the conclusion that I was like this since the beginning.
Yes, but especially the analysis of a person and trying to categorize that person, or trying to, from the very beginning, find out if, okay, is that an analytical person? Are they more intuitive and emotional? Yeah. Would you be doing that, like, let's say?
Yeah, because I was always curious to, like, even when I sometimes walk down the street, I know it's not the best thing to do because it might sound a bit offending to other people, but just watching at people and seeing what they do, how they react. Even the other day when I was coming to your place last week, there was a couple that was having a big fight, and there was like a British couple, and there was a kid involved as well. And I'm not involved in this in any way, but I stopped just to see how the man would react, how the woman would react. And it was just interesting to me to see the behavior of those human beings. And I think that that's something that comes naturally to me, to just when we interact, and when I interact with somebody, I'm just watching how they react, what they do, and then forming myself an opinion of this person, and concluding to myself if it's somebody that I would love to like bond with.
Yeah, exactly. I remember there's a story, we were at the shop and some totally unrelated people like had a problem in front of us recently. Nikolai was like, "Oh, what's going on? What's going on?" Just panicking. We don't even know these people. He's like, "Oh, what's happening?" Oh, yeah. But yeah, okay, that's very interesting. Very interesting. Because I've never approached it that way before. As I said, I guess I started trying actively to think this way for the past year, and I've noticed it really helped me with communicating. Definitely, it helped me.
Yeah, because if you know the person in front of you, you can also communicate better, because we're not one-sided person. Like people, we're not only like,
we're not
fixed. We are not only this. Mm-hmm. We are multifaceted. Is it like this? The phrase?
Multidimensional.
Yeah, multidimensional. Yeah, it's a good way to say it.
Multifaceted, as well.
And that's why you can communicate differently with different people, and that's a good thing when it comes to negotiation. As we mentioned last time, mirroring. When you speak with somebody, if you mirror them, even though that's not something that comes naturally to you, you can, just help the other person, make them feel more confident with you.
Yeah, and like people are very nuanced, which I didn't realize before. I guess it took me a while to have like my romantic relationship helped me realize, and I guess other stuff that happened in my life, major events, helped me realize that we are very nuanced, because I used to think that people perceive the world very similarly to me, which in fact it's not the case. And when you realize people are very nuanced, and they're like little details that make them angry for some reason or something like this, you're much more aware, and you pay much more attention to the other person and try to notice stuff like this and make mental notes in your head for stuff like this.
Yeah, like that's just a perfect way to say it. Something that I've been thinking about recently, because I've been thinking as well that people should be like me. They should be. They might not be, but they should be like me. Mm-hmm. And even Marcus Aurelius, he said that some people, people are different, and you have to accept those differences in order to be living peacefully, because you cannot change other people all the time. Mm-hmm. And especially when they don't want the change, and they might not need that change. Yeah. It just could be on you that you're thinking, oh, you must be like me. And when somebody reacts in a way which is against your principles and against what you would have done, you shouldn't be, just disappointed or just, offended that much from this action. But you should be like, okay, that's this person. That's how he reacted, so move on.
Yeah, I remember Joe Rogan, listened to his podcast recently, and he was telling, when I was younger, I would do everything to help some people. I would try everything. Like I would give them advice. Man, you shouldn't do that. Like you should change your life, whatever. And he was like, I was putting so much effort into changing people and trying to change them, trying to make them realize that they are living the life wrong, and they're getting into these like bad habits, like they're getting into these patterns that basically destroy themselves. That, you know, I was spending so much time, and then I realized that I'm doing all of this, and then a week or two later, the person is doing the same thing. So they're like saying, oh yeah, man, I'll change. Like, yeah, I see what you mean. And then a week later, he was like, I see him doing the same thing. So then I quickly realized when I was young that this is not the right way to do it. And if this person themselves don't want to change themselves, then this is also Jordan Peterson. He's a psychologist. So it's a very robust thing to say, is that if the person doesn't want to change, then they won't change. The same with Peterson gives an example with, you know, people that are on the bottom of social hierarchies. It's very hard to help them just because they themselves don't want to be helped.
Yeah.
And it's extremely difficult. So Joe Rogan's advice for this was, instead of trying to change those people, try to create a circle, create a tribe that are very self-aware and want to improve, make progress, change themselves. You have the same interests. Create a tribe that you can thrive in, basically, and push yourself together.
Push yourself together.
Rather than having, let's even say, toxic people that want to make the necessary changes when it comes to it. Yeah.
So that's more on the side of like trying to change people, and surround yourself with people that would want to change and help you change as well for the better.
Yeah.
Which is a very good point. And speaking about this, I feel that we are currently in such an environment. You, like Casper, Rumen as well, like these are people that are aware of the stuff they're doing and want to like push harder.
Mm-hmm.
But my point was more on the side that sometimes you just have to accept the actions of other people and move on.
Yeah.
Not even think about it, because your thoughts can really kill you. They can like stop your movement in when it comes to development, when it comes to what you're doing. And if someone does something which you're not okay with, your first thought should be, that's my opinion, okay, this is this person, he did this or she because that's the way she or he is, and my view is different. But so what? Like, just move on.
Yeah, exactly. And the only thing you can do in these situations is point out why the other person made a mistake or made you, like, harmed you in any way or harmed someone else, but you cannot control them.
Yeah.
That's, I guess Marcus Aurelius' point. So it's the best thing to do is just point it out or try to influence them and then move on.
If it doesn't work, and you shouldn't be following up or like, did you change or why not?
Well, maybe if you think this will help in some cases, maybe you can follow up, but
you cannot do this with everybody. That's the point.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah,
only with your like close friends.
Yeah. I agree completely. Yeah.
Cool. Well, do we have any other questions? I have one, which is a very short one. It's for the ending of the episode.
Okay.
Do you have anything else?
I don't actually, no.
Okay, so that's it might sound cringy, but Peter, what are you grateful for today?
I'm grateful for the sun today. Definitely grateful for the weather. I'm grateful for having the chance to go out after this because it's a non-working day, so we can have a good time outside. And then, does it have to be 3 things?
It could be. Let's go.
I'm grateful for the book that I found, the Influence book by, I can't remember, I have to check. But I'll link the author. It's the Charlie Munger's favorite. I remember the name. It's by Cialdini. So he's I think he was a psychologist or sociologist who wrote this book. It's the favorite book of Charlie Munger, who is the partner of Warren Buffett. So it's a very interesting book. It basically describes how people are influenced by different different patterns and how to avoid being misled into or misguided by other people.
Yeah, and being tricked.
Exactly.
Into doing stuff.
And how you can use this as to create good as well. It also helps you with that, I think.
Nice.
So these are the things. What about you? Let's finish off on a good quote.
Okay, just to touch on something.
Yeah.
for our viewers, watching the annual conference of Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett is probably one of the best things that you can do in your free time. Okay, like it's one of those good things that you can do because Charlie Munger is so intelligent. Like this person, even like Naval, he was saying that the best business book that you can ever read is the Almanac of Charlie Munger.
Yeah.
It has so much about business and stuff. And if you know Warren Buffett because of his presence like all over the world, you know, everybody knows about Warren Buffett, but Charlie Munger is his partner and the person who's on another level as well. And he has so much wisdom to share. And on these annual conferences, which I was referring to, you can listen and really check what those two are speaking about.
Yeah, a major part of Buffett's success is Munger.
Yeah.
A major part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So what I'm grateful for, I'm grateful for the fact that I'm grateful for my journaling experience. Today I did it again. Major thing. Once again, I had so many thoughts in my head. I put them down in paper and it felt like I freed some space in my mind. That I was able to focus on other stuff. The weather is something else that I'm grateful for as well, as you mentioned, because it kind of gives me the sense of, that I'm alive, that I can enjoy this stuff. And what else should I mention? Well, the fact that I'm here, being able to record this podcast and do the stuff that I want.
Yeah. Okay. That's
cool.
That ended it definitely on a good note.
Yeah. Great. So yeah, this was the episode for today.
Yeah.
I think it was a good one. We touched so many points, but like we were jumping back and forth.
Like last time, I think our podcasts are starting to get more unstructured, which is not a bad thing. It might be a good thing as well. It's more fluid, I would say.
And that's something that Tim Ferriss is always happy about. He's always mentioning, I'm a person who goes on different tangents. And like somebody speaking about a dog and then he jumps and speaking about cats. Like,
but that's good because I think people listening to podcasts are not listening it with an intent necessarily, but to learn stuff. And when you jump on tangents, that there's much more to learn, It's 20% from this, 20% from this, 20% from this. Yeah, well, even this is a tangent that I'm saying now.
Yeah, well, otherwise it's just one straight topic. And if
it's like a lecture. No one, people prefer podcasts to lectures.
Yeah. Well, hopefully they prefer ours as well. So thank you very much for watching, guys. And we're going to see you next time as well.
Yep. Thank you and see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.